Fantasy adaptations from the page to the screen have seen varied success through the years. The highs have been high, but the lows have been quite low. Especially in a time when source material is blatantly disrespected or shrugged aside as a burden, the great adaptations of the past seem like even rarer gems that must be preserved and appreciated with vigilance. Of course, the nature of film adaptations requires some deviation from their novel counterparts. A one-to-one translation is almost impossible, let alone impractical. Yet, the best fantasy stories to fly from dusty tomes to silver screens preserve their hearts and souls, often due to the dedication, care, and passion of the casts and crews that initiate their creation. The Lord of the Rings is the most famous and successful example, but I believe a close second is seen in the form of the Harry Potter franchise. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Exploring Fiction. As amongst the Lord of the Rings enthusiasts, there are those in the Harry Potter fandom that believe too much was left out or changed in the translation from book to film. But I think the movies hit the perfect sweet spot, just as Peter Jackson's adaptation of Tolkien's masterwork had. But some of the Harry Potter films were of course better than others, although I think all were at a bare minimum great. So, how would I rank the films in the Harry Potter franchise? And why would I place them in the order I do? Let's explore. In 8th place is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. There is much to like in this movie. The tone of hopelessness and desperation is played up to perfection, and it gives the audience and characters both moments of heart-pounding action, as well as time to breathe. After all, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are only 17 years old, and they are now out in the real world for the first time. They have a monumental quest, but given its secret nature and the status of Harry as a fugitive, they are left to complete it alone. The weight of their loneliness is stifling and heavy, and the strain it puts on their relationships with each other is palpable and real. Yet, there has to be a movie on the bottom of the list, and so Deathly Hallows Part 1 takes this place. In my opinion, and the reason I chose it as the worst of the Harry Potter films, it is just too much setup and too little payoff. This is, of course, the drawback of being a Part 1 of 2, and though it does better than most Part 1 movies, it does not fully escape this trap. It is more arduous than any other entry in the franchise, since it must lay the pieces for the grand finale. So, although there is much to enjoy, Deathly Hallows Part 1 takes last place. Taking the 7th spot on the list is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. This is the film that I have no idea what to do with. For me, it has always been the most forgettable movie in the franchise, but upon my latest rewatch, I enjoyed it much more than before. Then, however, I reread the Half-Blood Prince book, and I was reminded how much this movie left out. One of the traits of Half-Blood Prince I appreciate most is its focus on the teen angst, growing relationships, and romance between the students of Hogwarts. But what is often forgotten is that this was done at the expense of so much lore and backstory. From books to screen, exploration and explanation of Voldemort's past and the reason behind the Horcruxes was lost. Information which seems rather vital for understanding the final 2 films. Still, because the characters are so endearing and we want to see them succeed and grow, there is enough to enjoy in Half-Blood Prince to place it above the bottom spot. Also, to touch on a popular point of derision, yes, the Harry and Ginny romance was extremely underdone, and yes, it was somewhat awkward, but no, that does not bother me as much as many others. Arriving in 6th place is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This is where things start to get serious. The world is growing darker, and the stakes are getting higher. There is just so much plot to cover that everything happens at a breakneck pace. The Triwizard Tournament provides a captivating plot structure, and Brendan Gleeson as Mad-Eye Moody, or not Mad-Eye Moody, really shines. However, this film just gets a bit left by the wayside because, in my opinion, it doesn't really stand out from amongst the rest of the franchise. If I were to choose to rewatch a Harry Potter film, I do not believe I would ever pick Goblet of Fire. That is through no particular fault of the movie. Instead, it is just due to my personal preference. So, while there is a lot to like here, including the slow creeping of darker themes into the work, and the return of Voldemort in the flesh, Goblet of Fire only sits at number 6. In 5th place, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This movie just beat out Goblet of Fire for me, because it still maintains the cheery, upbeat feeling common in director Chris Columbus's work as a whole. Though of course this film gets darker than the first, it just recaptures that unique charm that made the first movie so lovable. Chamber of Secrets can get slow at times, but as the mystery is unfolding and we finally unravel the clues alongside Harry and Ron, the excitement returns. Kenneth Branagh as Gilderoy Lockhart steals the show, perfectly capturing the naivete and faux gravitas of his character. And John Williams' score only heightens the film in every single way. As I previously mentioned, the pacing of the film is its greatest drawback, as Chris Columbus and his crew attempted to once again stick straight to the book with little deviation. But any fan of the first Harry Potter movie should thoroughly enjoy this one as well. I know I did. Coming in at number 4 is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. All that setup I was talking about before? It all pays off here. This is the final film in the series, the final showdown, the end of it all, and Deathly Hallows Part 2 certainly delivers. While the ultimate battle at Hogwarts is exciting in its own right, it is greatly overshadowed by all the important character moments that make up the rest of the film. We, as an audience, receive a good measure of catharsis watching the fates of our favorite, and least favorite, characters finally draw to a close. In particular, the two best scenes are when Harry confronts Ron and Hermione after finding out he is a Horcrux, something that wasn't in the books, by the way, and Harry greeting his loved ones with the help from the Resurrection Stone. Both moments carry such heavy emotional weight, and are both gut-wrenching because of how much we've watched Harry and his friends learn, grow, and lose on their various adventures. If I were to levy one criticism at Deathly Hallows Part 2, it would be that some of the moments of explanation, such as the discovery of the lost diadem as a Horcrux, or Snape's involvement as a heroic figure behind the scenes, fall just a little bit flat. This is not a sole result of this film, but more due to the fact that the two movies before it left out crucial story beats involving these plot threads, as I have already discussed. Still, Deathly Hallows Part 2 lives up to the lofty expectations of delivering a satisfying conclusion to this world-altering franchise, which is far from an easy task. At number 3 is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The best way to describe this film is endearing. While later entries into the franchise take a darker and more serious turn, of course as they should, Sorcerer's Stone captures the essence of its source material perfectly. Chris Columbus is partly to thank for his directing style and knack for making movies with heartwarming themes of family and friendship really shine here. The cinematography, sets, and overall jovial tone make this film extremely rewatchable and just plain fun. Sorcerer's Stone feels nostalgic, even if it isn't. Sure, some of the effects and child acting may not hold up as well as most would hope, but this movie really captures the heart and soul of the early Harry Potter books like no other. The mystery is quick and snappy, but there are also moments to breathe, to sit back and simply soak in the new world to which we are being introduced. Each and every character is unique and memorable in their own way, and it is impossible to go without mentioning the timeless score by the immortal John Williams. It is difficult to express why exactly this film is so powerful. It just is. Sorcerer's Stone feels like comfort, and for that reason, it is one of the best in the entire franchise. Yet, 2 films still remain, and the second best in the Harry Potter series is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. While Goblet of Fire before it really drove home the serious direction the later entries were heading, I believe Order of the Phoenix solidified this point with the greatest impact. The main reason this film sits so highly for me is because of the sequence inside the Department of Mysteries. We get to see Harry begin to blossom as a leader throughout the whole film, but his first real decision is a monumental mistake, one with dire consequences. Not only does he lead his friends into a life or death scenario because he is unable to think rationally, he also indirectly causes the death of Sirius Black, his godfather and the closest thing to a wizarding relative he's ever had. Seeing our main character fail on such a large scale is cathartic, but it also breeds empathy moving forward. Additionally, Dolores Umbridge is far and away the best villain in the series, and certainly the most detestable character. And of course, Gary Oldman as Sirius Black provides a standout side character with a nuanced performance to complement our leads. The Order of the Phoenix film trimmed some of the fat from its novel counterpart, in my opinion, and also made the correct choice to not make Harry so constantly angry at his friends like he was in the book. Of course, he has reason to be upset, as he is left out of many plans centering around him. But this is a situation with which many audience members can identify, feeling left out. The movie found a perfect balance between Harry being angry while still caring for those around him. And so, the 5th film, I believe, deserves the ranking of 2nd place. However, there can only be one Harry Potter movie that can be considered the best. And so, at number 1 is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. In my opinion, almost everything about this film is perfect, making it even better than the book from whence it came. To begin, the tone and shift from the lightheartedness of the first 2 movies into the darkness and seriousness of the later films is just beginning here, and Prisoner of Azkaban finds the perfect balance somehow. The main trio feels older, yet still young enough that the world at large is a scary place indeed. I always found it interesting that Prisoner of Azkaban has generally been seen as the best Harry Potter film, yet it has the least to do with the overarching conflict of Harry versus Voldemort. The only addition from this movie to that particular plot thread is the release of Peter Pettigrew, which in turn fuels the return of Voldemort to a human body. But, aside from that, this entire film is a complete change of pace. Instead, the entire mystery is centered on Sirius Black and how and why he relates to Harry. Speaking of Sirius Black, this film is our introduction to the character, played by Gary Oldman, as well as to Remus Lupin, portrayed by David Thewlis. Both characters are 2 of my personal favorites, and they shine as side characters and father figures for Harry in this movie. The entire sequence in the Shrieking Shack is pure perfection, and though more muted than before, John Williams' score once again adds an unforgettable layer to an unforgettable film. Out of all the Harry Potter movies, Prisoner of Azkaban is the one I could put on any time and anywhere, at any point, and thoroughly enjoy it no matter what. And so, I consider it the very best the franchise has to offer. Rare it is for every film in a franchise to receive mostly universal praise. So much can go wrong. One too many alterations from source material can cause an inescapable collapse. Yet, the Harry Potter franchise never had to worry about such issues, at least in terms of the main stories. All 8 films feel timeless, a sweeping, powerful story with a definitive start and end. But still, they are not all equal. From Deathly Hallows Part 1 to Prisoner of Azkaban, I enjoyed them all, but there were elements of some that stood above the rest. So, that's all for this video. Leave a comment with your thoughts and your own rankings. I'd love to hear them. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new here. I'd love to have you. Visit my website, russellawellsauthor.com, for exclusive reviews, fiction, and more, and sign up for my mailing list for free, exclusive content. The links for both are in the description below. And, like always, I will see you next time.